Even if you own a CNC, I really think it's kind of like the Jedi in Star Wars. You're not a true Jedi until you build your own lightsaber. And I truly think that you'll understand the ins and outs of CNC a lot better once you've done it. And the beauty is, you could fix these things when they break down, whereas you're at the mercy of the manufacturer for their parts, or their backlog in parts, or their call waiting whenever something breaks down. And you're twiddling your thumbs, you're paying for shipping. It may or may not stay within warranty. You know, you're kind of out on a limb in the trust land, and you don't want to be there. Hopefully you're thinking about getting a CNC, or maybe you already have one and you're considering upgrading, or maybe even making a new one. I want to honestly talk about the benefits of bolt guide. This is my first one. This is a Genmitsu 3018. If you don't know what the 3018 stands for, it's the bed size. It's 30 centimeters by 18 centimeters, or 300 millimeters by 180. And the cut is the distance that you can see on that spoil board. It's not a very big area. It does work, and it's a really nice frame that they have. A super nice kit. It goes together quickly, has a little bit of software. It is a great learning tool. That's what I would consider this. You can do some stuff, and if you have enough patience, you could probably do quite a bit, but eventually you're gonna outgrow this. Would I get it again if I was brand new? If I had a budget for less than $200, you get this for about, you know, $160, $150 on Amazon right now. Would I buy it if that was my budget? Yep, I think it's a good buy, and it's a good introduction. And if you treat it in your mind like this is an education, and know that one day you're gonna upgrade and you're okay with that, then, you know, that might be the way you wanna start. However, I have built this one. Strangely enough, I use this little guy to do a lot of the machining that made things on this. For example, all those mounts for the Z-axis, this little guy did them. It cut them very precisely so that the screw holes were exactly the way they were supposed to be. And they were perpendicular, spread out, so all the components fit together. And how did I do such a big board on this little thing? The answer is you can shift it, and as long as I kept it parallel, you can do some really nice stuff if you're clever with this little guy, and it's got great clamp down. I really like the bed's clamp down. This whole build of this particular machine, counting the cart, which they don't include usually when they sell you these machines, and counting my emergency shutoff, which they oftentimes don't count, and counting my router, which they don't usually count. All the expensive stuff that they don't tell you when you buy a CNC machine. A lot of times they don't include this stuff. This whole, you know, setup here, what cost maybe $1,100 or so when I originally built it. It has a capability of cutting of about 28 by 24 inches. It's significant that you can do most projects if you're clever. And honestly, when I designed this, there's some things that I didn't know that I wish I would have known. I'm gonna show you in this series that's coming how to build this. And I'm using open source software. I'm gonna use an Arduino Uno. I'll show you the easy way to do it so you don't have to do any soldering. I really think even if you own a CNC, you need to build your own. If you make one, you can fix it. It's not that much money in components, and they're open source. That alone should make you pause before you go spend 3, 4, 5, 10 grand on a machine. And some of them use systems that, quite honestly, in my mind, might be a little sketchy. I've got good components. I've got ball screws. A lot of the manufacturers are doing these flimsy lead screws. I've got significant bearing rods, add stiffness to this whole build. I've got capabilities of putting a vacuum on relatively easy. You can build this in a few weekends. Probably less if you have somebody to guide you through. I'm gonna be guiding you through. I'm gonna show you how to make your own CNC. If you want a ready-made solution, wood shop, professional grade cabinets, I just need one to go right now, and I don't have a capability of delaying out and building my own from scratch, then I can certainly give you some suggestions, because I think there are a few manufacturers that are heads and shoulders above the rest. I think they've got some pretty darn high quality machines if you're willing to spend 3 to 5 grand in that range. But 3 to 5 grand is a long ways from 1,000 and be able to fix like that. And it's kind of your call. I feel like building your own CNC will change the way you think about everything about your CNC. And there's definitely some things that I would do differently. I'm gonna show you what I would do differently. The nice thing is the amount of money you spend on these motors and stuff, if you ever upgrade, you can, scavenge off your old machine, and you can reconfigure it for 1/10 the price. It's not like if you build a smaller machine, I wouldn't even call this really a small machine, but if you build a smaller machine, the motors are transferable. The electronic are transferable. The wiring, as long as you leave the wire long enough, it's transferable. So you're not out the door. This little guy, you would be hard pressed to mod this thing to turn it into one of these. I'm not saying it couldn't be done, but the amount of work and the amount of money you'd have to do in order to make that happen, it's probably not cost effective. You're better off starting with the right components. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a head start. So before my next video, kind of think in your mind, the lowest end you're gonna be able to go is around, a little over $150. If you can't yet afford that, you probably need to save your pennies and put them together. You don't need to buy professional software to run your CNC, because this actually comes with some software. There's ways around things that they don't tell you, the manufacturers, and certainly the CNC software manufacturers don't tell you. You can get really good results without breaking the bank. You don't need to learn how to solder. Everything that I'm going to do in this build with you is I'm going to show you if you can handle a screwdriver and a wire stripper to strip not huge wires but simple wires, and you can follow the directions of putting this in numbered slot A or B or etc. It's truly not that hard. It's open source. It's not nearly as hard as people think. There's a mystique, and it's the fact that people don't know how easy it is to build these things that keeps the manufacturers of a lot of these companies in business. Some of them are like primo. There's some really good components. So I'm not trying to diss on all those builders of these machines, but some of them are charging incredible amounts of money for not giving you back the level of increased quality that you can do by building yourself if you're willing to do a little elbow grease in the railings. There's cheaper ways to do it, but there's a significant diminishing of quality with some of your decisions. Some of them, it's not going to matter. Some of them, a little bit of cost savings is going to come back and leave you with a lot of regret. I hope you join me for this series just to find out whether or not you're interested in building this. For those of you that made it this far with a CNC joke, why does my CNC always drink coffee and not hot chocolate? The answer is, he likes the coffee bitter. Think about it.